there's a lot of trends in franchise development that I think with the way technology is advancing with AI, the world is really changing very quickly, and it's impacting franchise development in many different ways. I think that the consumer or candidates are looking for information that they can get on their own, and the need to speak to somebody is diminishing. Eventually, they're going to need to connect with somebody in your franchise development team. But the initial information and gathering that they're going to get on their own. I mean, 20 years ago, people would lead the conversation with, tell me about your brand, how are you different, what is it, the opportunity. And today, the candidates are much more informed, and they're not saying, tell me about your brand. They're already asking very detailed questions. So from a franchise development standpoint, you have to have a lot of information out there that the candidate can get, and the information that they can digest and go through.
So one of the biggest trends I see is people asking, I want to diversify. I hear that word over and over again, and I think probably other people would say something similar, but especially people that are looking to, coming from food. We have a lot of people, operators that are, come from these large food, franchise organizations. And wellness and beauty is kind of something different. I've worked in senior care previously as well, and you had a lot of that as well, right? I've come from healthcare or different spaces, and they're wanting to kind of diversify the background and invest a lot of their portfolio in franchising, which is a great thing.
I think the franchise development community is getting a lot smarter, which means we're all competing against each other for a small pool of prospective franchisees. So I think that's probably one of the key things is just, every brand out there is getting better at, mining and converting leads into their franchise business. So it's a big challenge.
It kind of goes back to the evolution of the lead generation. I mean, I've been in the industry now for over 20 years, and seeing it go from, I remember when I started, there was a handful of web portals, but then you were still running newspapers, magazines were still very prevalent, to now we're trending towards AI lead generation. And we're coming, it's still part of social media because they interjected AI into it, but that's still, it's kind of went from just straight up, run some ads on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. And now it's just, well, what do we do with AI now with it?
So we've identified 4 different types of profiles from a candidate perspective. And what we're doing is creating catered content for those specific candidates. And that's one of the, I think, development or changes in franchising that we're starting to see, is that the one-size-fits-all process is kind of going away. And I think that franchise development people need to look at who they're speaking to, the profiles. And remember, we're not really talking to them. They're just going to your websites. And so having content that's catered to that specific industry background experience is going to be very important. And so like in our website, we actually have different pathways that people can go, because someone who's already owned a franchise already has an appreciation, understanding the value of a franchise system. So you don't need to spend a lot of time on that. But somebody who's never owned a business or never even looked at franchising, that's going to be a big conversation and hurdle for them to understand the value of a franchise system versus doing it themselves. So I think that's going to be something that we look at as, what are their backgrounds, and try to cater that information that they're looking for and the talking points that would make sense for them.
But I do think there is a certain profile for each brand, who I worked with in the healthcare industry, with home care. Had a lot of, retiring nurses getting into the brand and different things. People that are getting into the beauty industry is kind of a different type of buyer, right? You have a lot of people coming from food. You have a lot of people, coming into this space that already are franchisees that are looking to build out a bigger portfolio. So I think, really identifying who the buyer is for your brand is going to make a big difference.
So we work hard on looking for the right profile of a candidate coming into our system. There's different types. There's a single unit candidate who's basically looking to buy a job for themselves, which is perfectly okay. But then we've also got the multi-unit folks who are looking for much bigger opportunities from a size of a business and from a footprint of a business as well, including the geographic territory that they're looking for.